Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I just wanted to come in here and make a video because I've heard something very concerning and I think it warrants a video. And that is that Sony Bravia TVs are going to be manufactured through a deal with TCL, which is a Chinese manufacturer. Now, while at face value, this might just seem like, oh, a smart partnership. Oh, hold on one second. Sony's doing a partnership to cut down on costs. Oh, Sony's just like outsourcing. This is nothing out of the ordinary. They've given up 51% of their business from what I've heard from Linus Tech Tips video. And what this means is that for the first time, I think ever, Sony's TV division might be at risk of getting cut completely. And why this is significant is because a lot of us know Sony as an innovator in the space. A lot of us know and remember Trinitron TVs. Trinitrons were the main TV of the 90s and 80s and 70s. TV technology with the Trinitron was massive. Sony was an innovator in the space. Now, over the past couple of decades, we've watched as Sony have went on a decline in terms of TV sales, mainly because the panels were innovated and have been mostly manufactured through LG and through innovators like Samsung, who developed their technologies. So we've really seen this decline in business for the TV division of Sony. And I think this says a lot to how Korea's TV divisions have risen over time, and technology divisions, compared to Japan's. Now, I think this is significant and warrants a video because a lot of us remember those good old days of Sony's. We remember that Sony was leaders in the space, much like Panasonic back in the day. Panasonic's another one who have fallen in the wayside of many years since. But Sony were, and still are considered, the best TVs in terms of retro, in terms of Trinitrons. And they were, for the longest time, considered some of the best TVs on planet Earth. And now we're at a point where they've paired with TCL, and now TCL is going to take over that part of the business, and it sounds like almost Sony's going to give that part of the division to TCL. They're not even going to touch it really. They might put some in manufacturing and image processing. But as far as what I can make of this announcement, it looks like Sony are essentially saying, you know what, our TVs aren't selling. Let's worry about that side of the business. Let's partner it out. And I think after a certain point of time, I think they just cut their losses, which would mean that Sony essentially don't make TVs anymore. Now, I know that, Sony have tried many different things throughout the years. They've tried, they've tried Sony, what are they? The laptop things, Valios, or whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. But you remember their old laptops. They've tried phones that you could play PlayStations on. They've tried so many different divisions of screen technology, and it's also like how they put consumer devices to market. Now, everyone remembers the good devices like the Walkman and stuff like that, and the Trinitrons. But, there's so many people who don't remember that for the longest time, Sony was the innovator. They were the head of technology. They were the ones who you looked at as like leading the industry. And since the rise of LG and Korea, North Korea, not South Korea, the other Korea, South Korea, it would be pretty funny to see it. I think it would be pretty amusing to see a North Korean TV, though. I think it would be quite amusing. But South Korea, they have really manufactured, ramped up production, and now they are the leaders in the space. And I don't know how we got here with Sony. I mean, a lot of people will ask, like, oh, Sony's television division and movie division, for example, Sony Pictures. You can see some Columbia classics up here. Columbia is a entity of Sony. What happens if they just say, you know what, we don't make TVs anymore? What if we ramp off our other businesses there as well? Let's ramp off the movie business. Let's sell it to, they won't sell it to Disney, but let's sell it to Paramount, or let's sell it to Comcast or whatever, and Sony will have no part of it. I can see that coming now. It's more realistic than ever before. And as it relates to physical media, this is the question I've put so many times. What happens when it doesn't become viable to keep making manufacturing physical media? They could pair it off and say, oh, well, the movie division, the Men in Black and stuff like that. Where's Men in Black here? It's somewhere here. There it is. They might say, oh, Men in Black, yeah, we own that IP. Yeah, Sony owned that IP. As you can see right there, if I can make it focus. I don't know if it's actually going to focus. It's not going to focus, is it? See, you can see Sony Pictures there. But what happens if they say, you know what, this isn't viable for us anymore? I don't think this is viable. We should just manufacture that out. And also, let's just sell off our division. we don't see any future in this. It can happen with physical media. If they're cutting their TV division, the crown jewel of Sony at one point, they can cut anything. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about manufacturing and big companies like Sony, big companies like Paramount. You might think that they are great with physical media today, but tomorrow they could say that's not viable anymore. Yes, it's making money. Yeah, the Bravia TVs sell, I guess, but they're not making back as much money as they put into it. And, you know, they have to have a return on investment. If they're making X amount of TVs and only X amount, Y amount of selling, then, you know, they're not really going to see a return in investment. That's the same with Blu-ray. They can manufacture 50,000 of a Blu-ray or 4K. And if only 2, 3, 5,000 of those sell, then they're going to say, oh, well, our return on investment, we're not selling these things. Let's just stick to DVD for everything, because DVDs are selling, surprisingly. And let's ramp that up. We don't even have to focus on 4K. The 4K can be on digital only. And look at stuff like the PlayStation as well. PlayStation has really been a crown jewel of Sony now. It's kind of the thing that a lot of people point to. Yes, Sony still make a lot of other things, but people still point to the actual PlayStation as, oh, that's the crown jewel of Sony now. That's the crown jewel. Without the PlayStation, what does Sony actually make these days? And that's a lot of people saying it. Yes, Sony make a lot of stuff. I know Sony make a lot of stuff. But the PlayStation is the one, the public-facing, kind of everyone knows about it. What happens if they say, you know what? The PlayStation 5 sold a lot of consoles this generation around. Not as many games there. We could have done better on games, but also, what do we say about maybe not making those anymore? Let's just make a dedicated PC, and we'll sell a PC. We'll have a partnership with Windows or whatever, and we'll just sell a PC, and it can play PlayStation games. And you can pair your controller to it, Bluetooth. Done. I can see that happening. I mean, we got a PlayStation Pro console that was within the $1,000 range, or well over 1,000 in Australia. You know, for Australians, it was 1,300 at some points if you want a disc drive one. So we're starting to see now that Sony are starting to play with this whole idea of like, what is core business, what isn't core business. Now, they are selling PlayStation still, so they're not going to cut the PlayStation division, I don't think. Although they could very easily just say, you know what? Let's just do it all for PC. Let's just do it. I mean, everything's going to PC now. Let's just have it streaming. Let's do something like the Switch. So this could be the way it goes. But at this point, if Sony is willing to cut their TV division, they can cut anything. That was the crown jewel of Sony. It's like if they were still manufacturing Walkmans today, and they said, you know what, we're not making the Walkman anymore. And you might think that's significant, like, oh, you know, Walkmans have been gone for a while now. But I mean, it's like when Apple cut the iPod, you know, something that was core fundamental to the Apple ecosystem, the iPod, when they ended the last iPod support and said, you know what, iTunes is gone, iPod's there. I mean, iTunes is still kind of there. It's just under a different name, music. But, you know, so many people have said, oh, the iPod, and they should have kept the iPod going as a legacy device. Return on investment, they just weren't selling enough. Yes, they were selling, but they weren't selling enough, and it just wasn't worth the profit margin that they were getting. That's the same thing we're seeing now with Sony with this TV deal. Sony getting out of TV manufacturing is a big deal. And I think we're kind of underestimating what it means. Yes, it could be a partnership. Maybe they take back the rights in 5 years and say, yeah, we're going to do TVs again. I don't see it happening. I think this is one of the final nails in the coffin of Sony's TV division. And likewise, I think that means that they might even be open to selling stuff like, you know, Columbia, and selling stuff like Sony Pictures. It can happen. I'm just saying this is a possibility now. If they're prioritizing, you know, gaming divisions and other innovations, they're not going to worry too much about, oh, well, let's make a better PlayStation. They will make a better PlayStation, though. Don't get me wrong, they're selling a lot of those things. But they will look at it as like, oh, well, maybe next console generation might be the last one. I mean, how much are we going to sell, really? I mean, yeah, we could still manufacture, but look at the profit margin on the Switch, and Nintendo's getting massive profit margins because they're shipping generation-old hardware, but they're doing it in a way that gives better performance to their games. So, you know, we're seeing a lot of that. And at that point, they'll just say, well, let's just sell a PC, and then we pair it with Windows. We can sell it for 2,000, 3,000, whatever we want, and you can play PlayStation games on it. There you go. Everything's solved. And you put your Xbox on there and everything is all in one. An all-in-one console. That is your all-in-one console. If Sony make a PC that has Windows on it, because then you have the Xbox ecosystem 2-in-1. This is a possibility. If they're willing to spin off a TV division that was their crown jewel for the longest time, Anything's possible. I said all that in one breath. Let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. Is this concerning for you? I mean, yes, Sony televisions have been a big factor in the industry for a while, but it's still kind of like, it's a sad day. I mean, the Trinitron name's been gone for a while, but Sony televisions, it's kind of concerning. Let me know. Peace.